I knew that the only way to get out of how I was feeling in the place that I was in is to be authentic, be vulnerable. So I reached out to him and said, hey man, like this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm struggling with. He hopped on the phone with me for like 2 hours and we talked all things podcast. I could have like started a podcast and started making money from it like that week if I wanted to, because he literally was like mapped everything out for me. It was like, I just met this guy. And so it was kind of like that, you know, that like hero syndrome, like, oh, this dude's like saved my perspective on life a little bit. So I called him back and I was like, listen man, I don't know what you just did, but I want to meet you. He's like, okay, well, I'll be in Austin, Texas this weekend. You fly out, I'll take you to an event, and you'll get to spend the whole weekend.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 122 of the Andrew.IT podcast. If this is your first time joining me, I want to thank you for checking it out. This show is all about having meaningful in-person conversations with some of the most badass people that I know. But before I jump into the show, just want to mention that this episode of the podcast has been brought to you by Eyes Ahead Media. Eyes Ahead Media is a group of creative professionals who understand the value of exposure. And in today's social media landscape, eyeballs are the new currency. The more attention you have, the bigger impact you can make. And over the last 8 months, Eyes Ahead has been perfecting their custom gifts. They've actually helped over 30 brands get their gifts trending on all the major platforms. And they've created more than 500 gifts that have been used by the biggest celebrities and influencers around the world. And they've been viewed over 750 million times. With their proven system, they consistently get their clients millions of views within the first few weeks. The numbers don't lie. So if you're interested in having your face or brand seen by millions of people around the world, visit eyesaheadmedia.com/gif for more details. All right, so my guest today is the amazing entrepreneur and podcast host, Cameron Martinez. And he's the co-founder of LVRG, a company that partners with the best online software, tools, and course creators to negotiate exclusive pricing for their members. It's basically like the same concept as Sam's Club or Costco, but for entrepreneurs and business owners. You pay a small membership fee, but you end up saving thousands over the life of your membership. And not only are they saving people money, but they've also partnered with an Atlanta-based nonprofit called Feed a Billion that works with local charities to provide nutritious meals to people in need around the globe. And in the last year, LVRG has saved their community of entrepreneurs over $5 million. And through Feed a Billion, they've fed over 200,000 people around the world. Cam's also the host of the Six Figure Roadmap podcast, where he talks to world-class leaders and top-level entrepreneurs about what it takes to get from where you are to where you want to be in your business. They just launched last month, and they've already hit the new noteworthy section on Apple Podcasts, and they have thousands of downloads. He's absolutely crushing it right now. And Cam actually flew all the way to Atlanta from Denver to join me on this episode. And today we talked all about getting woke, social entrepreneurship, and the effects of social media. It's an awesome conversation, so please, without any further ado, welcome my friend, Cam Martinez. Dude, Cam Martinez, this is a hair down type of podcast.
Hair down.
We've got our shoes off, hair down, hanging out. We've been hanging out for the past like 48 hours, basically.
Pretty much straight.
Yeah, you pretty much flew in from Denver, and then went straight.
I did fly in from Denver.
Yeah. I was saying
flew in.
I was saying you pretty much flew in from Denver and then just went straight to my house.
Yeah.
You did go to IHOP Express, which I'll give you credit. Like
that is like one of the best inventions I've ever seen.
IHOP Express.
Take out IHOP.
Take out IHOP. I mean, dude, doesn't get much better than that. Breakfast food all day.
Yes.
Yeah. But dude, Cam, thanks for being here. I feel like this has been a long time coming. You are a brand new podcaster, which is super freaking exciting. You've got the Six Figure Roadmap, which is killing it. You hit new and noteworthy in 24 hours, 48 hours, something
Pretty
like that.
much like 24, yeah.
So for people that don't know, podcast, new and noteworthy is like when Apple Podcasts, they highlight a brand new podcast that they think is killing it, and you guys got on it like really fast. So that's really awesome.
We're still on it.
Yeah, still on it. So if you're listening to this in the past, hopefully it's still on it, which you're definitely listening to in the past because there's no possible way you could be listening in the future. But, dude, I wanted to kind of like bring you on just to kind of tell your story a little bit. But first of all, I wanted to ask you, how do you feel being a podcaster now? Like, is it weird, like, calling yourself that, or do you even consider yourself a podcaster?
It's not weird. No, I've been doing interviews for probably a little over a year now. I actually started out when I first, like, became an entrepreneur. I was connected. I like, friended as many people as I could on Facebook. And you soon find out, like, who you need to know in, like, the industry that you're like, trying to serve. And so I would find those people, and I started a blog, and I'm like, hey, I'm like creating this series of blogs where I'm interviewing people like you. Here's my past
top leaders or whatever.
Yeah, but I had no intention of doing anything with it. I honestly just wanted to meet these people, and I never did anything with the blogs. Like, I wrote all of them. I spent hours writing all these blogs.
But never released them?
Never did anything with them. So that's where I started with like interviewing. Podcasting has always been something I wanted to do. But it's kind of like, I mean, if you're okay at having conversations, it's like,
exactly.
That's all
Dude, that's a good relationship hack, bro.
No,
Start
seriously.
a blog.
Seriously, if you're an entrepreneur or like trying to meet like if you're just trying to grow your network because it's important to like the lifestyle or whatever you're doing in your career, interview people. Like you don't have to publish anything. I mean, there's this guy, his name's Kyrie, and he's like a big Facebook advertiser. But he said he spent like 3 years interviewing everybody he could. Never published it, never like started a podcast or anything. And the whole intention was just like get to know these people. And he said he's done like over 900 interviews. Can you imagine if he would have documented all those? Like you just become the word of the weekend, an influencer just because of that. Like
yeah,
you don't
exactly.
even have to do anything with it. But
no, it's so true. I mean, that's what happened with me with my podcast. Like I've gotten to meet so many cool people simply because like I can approach them with something. Like
it's leverage.
It's leverage, dude.
You get to leverage it to infiltrate somebody's life. Like,
dude,
if you allow someone to showcase and talk about their message, immediate trust. It's like, of course I would love to talk about myself.
Exactly, man. And podcasts, I think, are kind of like a form of therapy almost. Like you get to talk out just a lot of ideas that you have in your brain, even if they're not fully fleshed out, and you get to explain yourself in a way that, like with a podcast, you're intentionally trying to have a productive conversation. Whereas we were just sitting around like we were literally like 20 minutes ago. We were goofing around, talking about all kinds of random shit. Yep. But now that like camera's on, this is going to be listened to by a lot of people. Yeah. Now like we have this flow and we're trying to like have this productive, meaningful conversation. Shout out to Wiz Khalifa. Honestly though, shout out to Wiz Khalifa because he used one of my custom GIFs a couple weeks ago, which is super dope. He was on Joe Rogan, and was it AJ? Was it you that showed me? No, someone.
You found it.
Someone sent it to me though. Someone sent it to me, and they said they were like, "Yo, dude, is this your GIF on Wiz Khalifa's page?" And I like freaked out, and of course I told everybody. Got a lot of attention on Facebook actually. I was like, "Yo, Wiz Khalifa used my GIF."
Yeah, dude, that was dope. I saw that on your Instagram story too. Has anyone ever like tried to create the GIF controversy or argument with
GIF on the podcast?
Anywhere.
Or just in real life?
Like,
yeah, definitely.
What's your opinion? GIF? I think it's GIF.
Yeah. So it was actually funny on one of the most recent episodes of Joe Rogan. He had this guy named Hotep Jesus on. Yeah. He's like this super crazy black dude who's just like all over the place with like his beliefs and stuff. It was a really interesting podcast, but one of the funny things was they had that debate because he has a company called Gifitize, and Joe was like literally trying to be like, nah, your company's called Gifitize, not Gifitize. Like he literally has a company called Gifitize, and he's like, nah, it's called Gifitize.
What do they do there?
So they basically, you can, with their little platform, you can make any Twitter video into a GIF like really easily or whatever. It's just like a simple little like plugin or something like that. Yep. But I definitely think it's GIF for multiple reasons. So number one, it stands for graphical something. That's all it's not graphical, it's graphical. It's GIF.
That's the end of the argument.
Yeah, pretty much. And then also like if you're spelling out the word GIF, I'm gonna spell it with a J, not a G. So I say GIF.
If you thought it was GIF before listening to this, you're wrong.
You're pretty much just wrong. You're just
you just put an end to that.
I hate to break it to you, but you're wrong. Like, nah, but if people say GIF, I don't get like a little bit of me just like, ooh, haven't been educated yet. You know, it's kind of like when you cringe when someone just says something ignorant. You're like, ugh, kind of silently judging you, but like I can't really judge you because most of the time you read the word GIF and you don't necessarily say the word GIF. Yep. But in my business, we say GIF a lot. But but actually we made some custom GIFs of you today, which is pretty freaking exciting.
Some interesting shenanigans there. Dude. Tying a green screen around my face.
Yeah, literally, we're gonna make his head explode with a green screen. It's gonna be sick. But yeah, so that was pretty nuts when Wiz Khalifa used my GIF. Hopefully, someone. Who would you if anyone on Instagram Kevin Hart? Yeah. That's your man, right? You love Kevin Hart. Yeah. What's your favorite Kevin Hart thing? Movie, stand up.
I love his book, but I really
What's his book called?
I cannot make this shit up.
But
It's literally-
what's it called? No, I'm just kidding.
It's a biography of his life, and it's like his stories are crazy, and you're like, nah, Kevin, you're full of shit. But it's literally like, I can't make this shit up.
I can imagine Kevin be like, I cannot make this shit up, man.
Yeah. And the best
up.
part about his book is if you listen to it on Audible, he reads it.
He reads it. That's the best, dude.
It's amazing.
If your book is as told by the author and you're not reading it, like, I don't really want to read it anymore. Like, I want to hear it from the author. But if it's fiction and it's like characters and stuff, I want to hear like a voice actor read it, because then they can do the voices and stuff.
Yep.
But if it's but if it's
That's like, so I normally do say yeah. But now it's like we've been saying yup all day.
The reason why we're saying yup is because, again, Wiz Khalifa on Joe Rogan said yup like 100 times or something stupid.
Insane.
So it's become a thing.
It's fresh.
It is
fresh on the
quite
dome.
fresh on the dome.
So
But
we're actually releasing a book later this year.
Leverages?
Yeah.
What's the book going to be called? Or do you know?
We don't have the title solidified yet. We're pretty sure
It's a good title.
we're pretty sure it's going to be something along the lines of the 6-figure roadmap.
Nice.
Keep it in line with the branding. Keep it in line with the podcast.
You could leverage that name that you have your podcast. You can leverage the name to also make your book popular.
Yeah. We could. We have 30 co-authors though. So it's Sylvania and me, and then 30 of our customers. And the reason
that's cool.
Yeah, we wanted all of them to be co-authors so that they could take the book and
say that they're Amazon bestsellers.
Yeah. Well, imagine if you're going into exactly. So imagine if you're going into a presentation, or you're going to get a client and you slap a book on their lap and say, I'm an Amazon bestseller. I wrote this book.
That's pretty good leverage.
On the topic that I'm discussing today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's true though. No, I've actually seen a lot of people use that strategy. It's pretty awesome because you can, you like literally people Google your name and you're like on Amazon bestseller list. It's pretty cool. That's awesome, man. So
that's the only reason I wanted to write it though, so I could say it was Amazon bestseller.
Do you know J.R. Rivas?
Yep.
He is on the Amazon bestseller list. In his book, he literally narrated into Google Translate or Google Voice, and I don't think he ever even edited it. Yeah. He just transcribed it into his phone and published it.
Yep.
And somehow got an Amazon bestseller. Pretty awesome. Shout out to JR.
Yeah.
But,
Pro hacks.
Yeah. So do you know Sema?
Yep.
Sema, she was like so they were coming in town for an event that Katya Sarmiento was throwing, and she was like, dude, when JR gets here, you should troll him and be like, dude, I read your book, it was amazing, like I'm one of your, like can I get an autographed copy and like stuff like that, because obviously I've never read it.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, you're joking with me, Sema put you up to this, like he was like, no one read my book. Because I think you just got a bunch of people to download it like the first week or whatever.
Yeah, so it's you
don't have to read it, you just have to download it.
Yeah, like exactly what we did the podcast.
Yeah.
When we release our book, we're gonna have everybody go buy it for 99 cents. I mean, this isn't anything new, so I'm not giving anything new away here. But if you're going to release a book,
insider secrets.
Yeah, just have everybody go buy it for $1, right? Imagine if you get 500 people. I mean, of course you can get $500, but that's like how many people you need to become an Amazon bestseller. And then
book selling hacks, bro.
Yeah, and then once that's done, once you reach that status, then you can raise it to like $10 or whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's what we'll be doing this year.
It's a good strategy.
Yeah.
That's sick, man.
Yeah.
Dude, so let's talk about leverage. Let's talk about your company. So in the intro, I'm going to kind of like briefly explain it, as a concept, but from your perspective, kind of just give me the story of how you got involved with the company, because you said Sylvania kind of started it and then you got brought on, but obviously you're still one of the co-founders of the company. You've been there for pretty much since the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, should I go back to I have to go back to the story of how him and I met.
Yeah, sure.
It plays a huge role in why we're partners now.
Totally.
So back in October 2017, that's when I stopped going to college of June that year, and had 3-4 months where I was doing Facebook advertising for small businesses and stuff. And I reached a point where I really didn't know as much as I should have. I should not have been getting clients, because I was not the person that should have been serving them on a level of where I could be making them, a return on investment. And so I reached this point where I realized
you didn't feel like you were giving them the real value that they were deserving of the money.
I mean, and if
were you were delivering a service though, right? People were happy or not really?
I was giving them something they didn't know how to do, but it wasn't up to the standards that I wanted to be doing it at. And that was because I was just I wasn't woke at that time. And so
you were asleep.
Yeah, I was asleep. I was definitely asleep. So October, I reached a point where a couple clients had left me because I kind of like pushed them out. I was like, I don't think I should be doing this. I'm just gonna like push them out. So October came, and I was at this place where, I had little income, I wasn't really like super passionate about what I was doing. And I actually wanted to start a podcast because like, all right, this is a cool thing I like to do. I like talking. It'll allow me to meet people. I could probably make some money from it. I don't know. I saw something from like John Lee Dumas or like Pat Flynn or something, and they inspired me. And so I reached out I just started searching for people who were podcast hosts. And I went to Sylvania's profile on Facebook, and he had an average to amazing cover photo where he was in an iTunes logo. And I was like, oh, this guy has a podcast. All right, I'm just going to reach out to him. And before, like a couple weeks before that, he invited me to his group, and he just pumped out content, went live every single day. So I was like, oh, I keep seeing this guy everywhere. He's probably doing something cool. Because, the louder you are, you're probably, you're making dough, bro, if you're everywhere, right? Not true. Not always true.
Gifts.
Not always true. So
Definitely
anyway.
not always true, but the perception kind of is reality, right? Like,
So
if people believe
doing that over and over, if you can sustain it for a long period of time, you'll eventually reach a point where it starts turning into a pretty solid way of living.
Totally.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm trying to do with the podcast.
Yeah.
It's for sure.
Yeah. I think I just disagree with the people who force others to perceive the fact that they might be, balling. And spreading
like flexing.
messages. Yeah, flexing when they shouldn't be.
Yeah, I think it's important to document the process of starting from nothing, hustling. I think that's a more sexy story over time.
But it's authentic too.
But you got to play that marathon game. Like, you're not going to get respect right off the bat. You're going to have people laugh at you right off the bat.
Yep.
But if you're flexing, you go rent an i8 or something like that.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that.
You go rent like a crazy car and get a watch and pull all your money out of the ATM and flex on Instagram. Like, be like, oh shit, I always see Andrew. He's out there hustling, man. Yep. But like, meanwhile, I got hella debt and like, I'm not I don't got anything.
But you're honest. You're on your podcast talking about this.
Totally, man.
A lot of people aren't.
Yep.
A lot of people aren't.
Yeah. Yup.
So I reached a point where I knew that the only way to get out of how I was feeling in the place that I was in is to be authentic, be vulnerable. So I reached out to him and said, hey man, like, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm struggling with. I see that you have a podcast. I also see that you're a boss in the corporate world. And so he hopped on the phone with me for like 2 hours, and we talked all things podcast. I could have like started a podcast and started making money from it like that week if I wanted to, because he literally was like mapped everything out for me. And I was like, I just met this guy like 2 hours ago, and he gave me all this stuff for free. And so it was kind of like that, that like hero syndrome, like, oh, this dude's like, he just like kind of saved my perspective on life a little bit. So I called him back and I was like, listen, man, I don't know what you just did, but I want to meet you. And he's like, okay, well, I'll be in Austin, Texas this weekend. If you fly out, I'll take you to an event and you'll get to spend the whole weekend with me. So that night, bought a ticket, flew out, met him. We went to this event called Conscious Transformation. It's like personal development event that he's been going to for like 5 years, and it's just like total life changer. We can get into that if you want to. It's pretty woo-woo stuff, but yeah, it's like life changing. So I went to that with him, and then fast forward to like March of 2018. So this is like 6 months later. Well, after that event, I had this like, I became woke, right? I woke up and started getting a ton of clients and stuff, and my business was flourishing. And
woke with personal development, like you were woke to the ideas that like what kind of woke are you talking about? Like, because there's some sort of woke where it's like, man, society, man, I'm woke, man. I know about institutionalized racism and shit like that. Or was it like woke to like business things?
Woke to myself.
Okay, cool.
To myself. So it was called physical mastery. So it was a lot of like meditation, and we did a little bit of yoga, but it was also like, so this guy named Joey Klein, he like runs this event, and he stands up in front of like 100 people, and all weekend we'll go through like a training of how to shift that particular event was the body, how to shift the body to like respond to things in a way that's going to benefit you instead of hurt you. So to give you an example, the reason that I'm a huge believer in this stuff is two examples. The first one, what he does too is like he'll pick somebody out of the audience. If they're willing, he doesn't like force people to come up and talk to him. But if people are willing, they'll like stand up. He'll go through an exercise with him. But this woman was sitting next to me. She stands up and starts just like bawling. And she's like, Joey, like I'm here with my husband. Her husband's sitting right next to her. And I'm literally right next to them. Like she's here, her husband's there. She's like, my husband he's an asshole and he's like abusing me. And like she had bruises all over her and was like bawling. And like, whoa, this dude was literally beating her. And
the dude who was sitting right there?
Sitting with her in this room. And she stands up and confronts what she's going through in front of hundreds of people. Okay.
Holy
it was insane, dude. And so he goes through all his exercises with her and basically shows her that she can't do anything about the fact that he's being an asshole. The only thing that she can do is control how she reacts to it, which is kind of hard to, like, it's kind of a hard concept to grasp.
Totally.
Because you're like, this dude's beating her. What do you mean she can't, like, be super upset about it? You can, but it's like, he was showing her, you can, you're reacting in a way that it, based off of things that trigger you about what he's doing to you. If he like screams at you, maybe that triggers you because things in your past sparked that memory, right? So he goes through all his exercises, and the next day we all come back and she's like glowing. She's like, I don't want to say like cured, right? Because that's probably years and years of trauma she's been through.
Yeah.
But she's just like a totally new person.
What did the husband do during this point, by the way?
He couldn't do it. Like he was just sitting there just like watching her communicate. Like he was totally like, I think he came.
Did he not realize he was being an asshole?
I think he did. Like he was watching, like listening to what she was saying about him. And I think that he realized, especially like if it's like magnified if you're like put on the spot like that in front of hundreds of people. So the next day they're both like glowing and communicating and laughing together. And clearly they have a lot of shit to work out. But that was one of the examples where I was like, okay, this stuff actually like is powerful. The second thing was one of the exercises was like a meditation exercise. And it's like one of the things he's telling us to do is like put your hands together and like create a ball of energy and focus on the actual like magnet of energy in between your hands. And I was like super deep in this meditation exercise. And I started feeling literally like a magnetic ball in between my hands. And he walks up to me and puts both his hands like underneath and over my hands like this. And just a huge like vortex of like, it felt like a huge magnet just pulling my hands like together. It was crazy. I felt like Goku. Like I could just create this giant ball of energy. It was wild, dude. And prior to that, like I didn't know anything about.
What do you think that is?
Like,
just out of curiosity, like, do you think it's something that you conjure from inside when you're like focusing so hard on that? Do you think it's an actual ball that you like manifested? Do you think it's like a little bit of power of suggestion, a little bit of power of the mind, a little bit of power of the universe? Like, what do you think that was?
I think it's all the above. I think energy is a real thing. Like we can feel the air around us. We can, like if I touch you, you feel my touch. That's energy, right? If you when we hear sounds, like earlier when you were like listening to your voice bounce off different things, just energy.
That's true.
So I definitely think it was like all of the above. I think it was all of the above. But yeah, prior to that, I had no experience in this stuff. It's not like I didn't believe in it. I was just never exposed to it.
Yeah.
So just imagine me like ignorant Cam coming into a world like that. What it did for me was basically it showed me more about me and how I can react to things, and based off of how I was feeling before I went there, I was obviously blaming everything else except for the fact that I didn't educate myself enough. I didn't work hard enough, whatever it was, to be able to fulfill on these client expectations. And most of all, it was really my own expectations.
That's what I was going to say. It probably was a lot of your own expectations and knowing. I think that's the sign of someone with good intentions versus someone who's an imposter. Like I get imposter syndrome a lot with like the things that I create and things like that because I have a really high standard. But then, for example, I'll go and see someone who's like a real amateur, and then I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, I am actually really talented. You know what I mean? So like for someone that didn't know Facebook ads at all, you weren't necessarily like ripping people off probably. Like people were getting their value, but it wasn't to the standard that you wanted for the price that you were charging. Like you weren't comfortable at that level.
And I was pumped at that time. I was like the very first check that I got, I was like, holy shit, like I can actually, it caused me to drop out of college. Like I got a $2,000 check.
And you're like, holy shit, from one client I can make $2,000.
My very first meeting I ever had with a person. And I was like, it took me literally 20 minutes to close a $2,000 deal.
Yeah.
I could probably make another $5,000 and not go back to college and be all right for a few months.
Totally, bro.
Right?
Once you kind of like, once that switch flips in your brain that you realize like, if you can provide a real valued service to people and charge that kind of money, like you're like, holy shit, yeah, I never have to work at a job again or whatever.
Yeah, and it's great. Like we were talking about MLMs earlier. Like I
was just about to talk about that.
You believe that you can create this life for yourself, and it's like that you're creating that belief that it's driving you to a certain outcome, and then you hit another wall where it's like, oh shit, like I'm making money, but I should probably be doing something with this money, and you just
it's like I'm making money, but the people under me aren't making money, but we're all making promises, and it's just a giant revolving door, and like you feel guilty, but you're also like, well, I was in the same place they were months ago, so they're just not working hard enough. Like it's this whole weird thing, and I was gonna bring it back to the MLM thing with like you were saying, you went to this thing and then you felt woke. That's how I felt with like MLM because I got all this personal development poured into me. I learned about entrepreneurship. I learned about being my own boss, like all that kind of stuff, and I just like. Once I learned what I learned, I couldn't unlearn it. I couldn't turn that switch off.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, we can go down this rabbit hole as much as you want to, but like being a part of Feed a Billion, which we'll get into, which is it's a nonprofit for those listening.
I'm going to mention it in the beginning, in the intro.
So it's a nonprofit that provides meals to children around the world, right?
Yes.
And the reason that food is so important around the world is because it's actually one of the biggest contributors to children winding up in the world of sex trafficking.
Totally.
Because people do crazy things when they're hungry, right? Like
literally.
Just think back to the last time that you went 6 hours, 12 hours without a meal. You were probably pissed off. You were probably, couldn't think straight. You were lethargic. You didn't have any energy. Hangry. Imagine going through that for your entire childhood, right? If someone comes to you and is like, hey, I have an opportunity for you to create a life that you've always dreamed of, where you have unlimited food and you'll have shelter, and I'll protect you, and I'll actually pay you. You'll get paid and you'll be able to buy your own food. But there's just one small little thing you have to do. What are you going to choose? Are you going to stay in the life of poverty? Are you going to stay in the life of being hungry all the time? Or are you going to capture that opportunity? Mm-hmm. And so it's an entire world, bro, where it's insane. Sylvania and I were talking about this, like how many, from an outsider's perspective, it's like no woman would choose to live that lifestyle. No child would choose to live that lifestyle, but some do. Some people, women, men, children, adults, they choose to live that lifestyle because it's a way out of the circumstance
of the worst thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like trading something bad for something worse, almost. Even though you don't know what that sacrifice will entail later down the road, but it's like, you might you might starve. So it's almost like I was listening to this podcast with Dr. Phil, and he was going through this like weird murder. It's like this. It's really interesting. It's like a murder mystery kind of thing with Dr. Phil's narrating it. It's pretty good actually. But one of the first ones is it's called like the murder of Gypsy Rose or the case of Gypsy Rose or something. And this girl, her name is Gypsy Rose. Long story short, basically her mom all her life. It's called Munchausen by proxy. When you have Munchausen disease or whatever, it's basically like a disease of the mind or a whatever of the mind where you think you have all these diseases. And so you're constantly diagnosing yourself with diseases, even making yourself sick so that you can go to the doctor and get more medicine, more things. So, and it's a totally fucked up way of thinking. And Munchausen by proxy is when you put that on someone else. So she put this on her daughter ever since she was a baby, all growing up. And she was in a wheelchair, she shaved her head, said she had leukemia, all of this stuff. And because like when you go to the doctor, your parent is your mediator and they tell you what is going on, because why would a parent lie to a doctor about their kid? Yeah. So like her whole life she grew up like in a wheelchair, but the whole time she could walk. And she knew she could walk because at night she'd get up out of her wheelchair and like walk. Yeah. And she planned this plot. She met this dude online and the dude came and like killed her mom in the middle of the night. And it's crazy. And now she ended up in jail for like 10 years. But the crazy thing is kind of like jail was almost a really good thing for her, because now she's able to kind of like normalize a little bit and have nourishing meals every day, not being on medication that was literally killing her every day, all this stuff. And even though she regrets killing her mom and all this stuff and she realizes it was a bad idea, it still got her out of that situation, which was worse than jail. Now she's in jail, which is a bad situation, but it's better than what it was.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a similar parallel.
Yeah, so and the same thing with the new documentary on Netflix with the 5 dudes that went to jail. I can't remember the name of it. Oprah just interviewed them. Anyway, they were like falsely convicted of murder in like a park in New York or something like that. Don't quote me on that. It might be wrong about like where it was, but it's a documentary on Netflix, and basically they were like 12, 13 years old, but the law enforcement kind of like tricked them into believing that they actually did commit a murder. I don't know. It's crazy, man. But yeah, it's just things like that, man. Like the mind, so the mind, body, spirit, your emotions, all of those things are controlling you at all times. And if you don't understand if you don't understand how all that works and how it's all combined, you kind of just walk through life thinking that what you have is as good as it's going to get. And so the event that we went to is it just showed me that like I became aware of things that
got
actually
woke.
happen. Yeah. You get woke. Like
Yeah.
It's hard to be woke.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true, man. I think a lot of things like that happen, that happens with religion, it happens with, those type of events, it happens with MLM, it can happen with all kinds of different events. And I think it's amazing when people have that moment of like, a self-awareness where they're like, whoa, there was a lot bigger of a world than I realized.
Yep.
Like I've heard some people talk about that when they like take psychedelic drugs for the first time. Like they're like, whoa, there's this whole world inside my brain that I didn't even realize existed,
Yeah, and it's we can keep referring Joe Rogan. That's okay, right?
I don't care.
Keep talking about him.
Dude, Joe's the GOAT.
Yeah, he's the man. But he was just talking to Charlemagne the God about psychedelic drugs and how when trying them, you kind of reach this moment of euphoria that you can reach out to the people that you love all the time. You're not too busy to like call them. Like it kind of breaks down the barriers that you create from your upbringing and like society that kind of force you to believe that it's awkward to call somebody you haven't talked to in years and say what's up. But events like that, like personal development stuff, allow you to access those things without having to do drugs.
It's true.
Like I'm not pro or con against drugs.
No, it's true. The way I tried to describe it to my mom one time, and I was like, imagine you had like a house, and then like you lived in that house for your whole life, and then one day you discovered there was a door underneath the stairs, and it led to a whole other room that you'd never even explored before. It's kind of like that. You think you know your own self in your own head, and then you like go to an event like that, or you take psychedelic drugs, you do something like that, and you're like, what? And your brain's just like open to this whole thing, and you're like, I didn't even know this existed. Yeah. Let alone like, it wasn't like I was ignoring it. Like I didn't even know this was a door. I didn't even know this was a thing. Like imagine if you like just took a book off your shelf, and then like the bookshelf opened, and there was a secret like laboratory in there or something. Like what the heck? Like that'd be nuts, right? And that's like kind of the feeling you get when you do something that like, and a lot of those events on purpose, they do physical, mental, they take over your senses so that you almost experience like almost like a religious type of experience in those environments. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's definitely a powerful thing. It can be it can be dangerous, right? Just like religion, you can use it for good or you can use it for evil.
Yeah. Jordan Belfort talks about sales like that.
Yeah, like if once you learn as much as you're exposed to about yourself, it can create it creates kind of you trying to put that on other people, right? So like people who push the Bible, right? Oh, you should be religious. Like God wouldn't want you to do this. You can do the same thing with just like thinking better, right?
Totally,
I can come to you and you can just say that, oh man, I hate this thing. And I can be like, you shouldn't say hate because of this and this and this and this. And it can be super judgmental. And I could say all these things and cause you to think that, man, I am thinking this way. I'm less than that. I'm less than that person.
Yeah.
Or I could be a lot better person. Even though you're already a good person, you're tricked into thinking that I could be better.
Yeah. I think also when you put a label on it, like stuff like that, like, if people are pushing a religion on you or something like that, there's like a label on it. But I don't think there's necessarily, it's never with bad intentions. I think I pretty much think for the most part, most people, even if they're doing bad things, probably have good intentions.
Absolutely.
Like no one's thinking they're doing the wrong thing in their own mind.
Absolutely.
Like there's rarely people that are just out there doing evil on purpose and they think it's evil. You know what I mean? Like they, for some sick, twisted way, even if it is a fucked up situation or whatever,
they feel like they're doing
the right thing. Yeah.
Service.
You never know. Some people, there's a lot of bad eggs out there, but for the most part, vast majority, I think most people have good intentions. But
Agreed.
I think sometimes, like when you were saying, like if people are pushing things on you, it's typically because they're thinking, I'm doing this person a disservice by not telling them about this thing that has changed my life so much. And I think sometimes people can be a little too pushy on that.
Yeah.
For example,
they just want you to live through the same experience that they had.
Totally.
But we're all different people, and that's probably not going to happen.
dude, and that's why I think, like, for example, reaction videos are so popular because we like seeing when other people experience a thing for the first time.
Yeah.
Like Kat Sarmiento, she's obsessed with showing people stuff for the first time. Like she's always like, oh, you gotta watch this video. And then all she cares about is the reaction of them.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't really care about watching the video again. She's like, oh, you've never seen this movie? We gotta watch it together. Even though she's watched it like 40 times.
Yeah.
Because she wants to see your reaction to the movie and if you like it or not. Like, and it's really interesting because I think that's why as humans, like we love seeing like reactions because we know how something made us feel and we're like trying to like pass that on to someone else.
Yeah.
Like there was all those videos recently about like people watching Bohemian Rhapsody or listening to Bohemian Rhapsody for the first time.
What?
It was so fake. Like it just became like this whole meme like where people are like, what? This is crazy, dog. I never heard this shit before. And it was like, dude, you never heard Bohemian Rhapsody? Like this is BS. Like a lot of them
became
were
like
fake.
an act.
They're like, this is by Queen? I don't know. Like they were like, it was just like this, just for clicks. It was stupid.
That's hilarious.
But yeah, I think that's why. But anyways, to kind of go back to your experience at this event. So you went to this event with Sylvan.
Yeah. So you asked me to explain my company, which is
Yeah, no, it's okay. Dude, I love rabbit holes. That's what podcasting is about to me, honestly.
Yeah.
But because like in a long form situation, you have time to like elaborate, you know.
Yep.
But so you went to this event with Sylvania. You flew out to Austin, and then what happened after that? You said you went back home and you kind of changed your business a bit.
Yeah. So I was just on a high, dude. I was just like. This last weekend was just like game changing, right? And
For sure.
I want to point this out, not to like brag or anything, or be like have people feel bad, but I literally had to go to my grandpa and be like, can I please have like $500 to fly out to Austin tomorrow? Because next day flights are super expensive. Because I didn't have the money, bro. Like all the money I made from my other clients, I had already like put either towards rent or whatever. I was living with my parents at the time, but they were making me pay rent for my insurance and stuff. So I had already blown through all my money, but I knew like I just had this huge like intuition moment where I was like, I have to go to Austin. I don't know why, but I gotta go. And so after that weekend, my expectations and everything came true. Like everything was exactly, probably more than I thought it was going to be. And I just came back and I was on a super like just on a high, and I was like, okay, like I'm pumped to get back into business. I didn't start a podcast, continue with Facebook ads. I focused down on the real estate industry. What I did was I went to a huge event, like a big real estate event, and just sat here and just, it's interesting. I just want to make this side note real quick. When you're at an event, you don't necessarily have to like force the connection with somebody. You don't have to force like creating relationships. You're going to meet whoever you're supposed to meet at that event. And it was interesting. I kind of just sat there and, was just listening. I was listening to all the speakers, just listening to the conversations around me. And it was funny that the 4 people next to me, I heard them talking about Facebook ads. I'm like, guys, I think I'm going to start running Facebook ads or whatever. Like, or I've tried it and it just wasn't working, right? Moment for me to intrude. I'm going to let you know that I was listening to your conversation. So I turned to these 4 people. I was like, guys, like, here's what you're doing wrong. And I just gave them like all this, value up front. And
Value, bro.
value.
Dude, major value.
Value add, bro.
Value hack. Value bomb, dude.
Lead with value first.
Golden nuggets, dog.
So yeah, I went up to these 4 people, just blew their minds with, simple Facebook ad stuff that they had no idea about. And they invited me to breakfast the next day where I can meet like 10 more of them. So I went to that breakfast, and it just kept like kind of exploding. And I eventually like made a really good relationship with one of the guys who basically knew like everybody in Denver, like all the real estate agents. Cause he wasn't doing Facebook ads, but he's what's called a title rep. So he basically like helps real estate agents out for free to get their business when they sell a house. And one of his focuses was, he's a really good videographer and editor. too. And that was one of his focuses, was creating that for real estate agents as a value add for them to get their business in the future. So he introduced me to all these people, and I did a bunch of events for free, showed people what Facebook ads were. My business exploded, and I was making like 6 figures in like 3 months. It was crazy.
Nice.
Like it was just like the craziest thing I've ever experienced. But what happened again was the same thing that I went through back in like June. I started, like, I had such an influx of people that I tried to outsource it to another company, and I didn't, like, it was kind of one of those things where you like don't vet the people. You're just like, I need you, just come do this for me. So I passed a ton of clients on to these people, and they totally did
quality declined.
Yeah, they did not fulfill on anything they said they were going to, which is, it's my fault too. Like, I have no blame on them. It's just as much as my fault as it is theirs. And like super unhappy people, and it eventually turned into just a crash of my business. So here's a super high, like started from the bottom, super high, and then drop back down again. And so
now we're here.
Yeah, and so when that happens, just like when that happens, it's just like you get through it once, but the second time you're just like, I don't know if I want to, because I knew what it took to like get to that point. I was like, I don't know if I want to go through this again. And I knew that there were a bunch of unhappy customers. And so I was really struggling with the fact that, you know, I could return all these customers' money that they gave me, then I would have nothing. Then I would be exactly back to where I was again. 6 months later, same thing's happening. So I called up a good friend of mine. His name's Tony Grubmeyer. He's actually on my podcast next week. Shout out.
Shout out Tony.
Shout out Tony.
When are your podcast launch, by the way? What days?
Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday.
Yeah, every Wednesday. So he'll be on my podcast next week. But I called him, and basically it was kind of weird. He's like, I was like, Tony, here's all the things I'm going through. And he's like, when was the last time you wrote down a list of everybody that you love in your life? So I wrote down, it was like a list of 100 people. And he's like, highlight the people you haven't talked to in the last 6 months. And I highlighted all of them, and he made me call them all. It was so uncomfortable, bro. He like put me through this crap. But he's like, how do you feel? And I was like, I mean, obviously I felt amazing, and I'm going to refund all these customers. I'm going to do it. And the crazy thing was, when I offered to, none of them accepted it.
Really?
Yeah, none of them accepted it. They just appreciated the fact that I cared enough to facilitate the issue.
Wow. That's cool,
and
man.
put out the fire. Yeah. So
that's sick.
It was, yeah. I lucked out again, right? But at this point, I'm like, all right, I don't know if I want to go through this crap again. So I started Amazon drop shipping. Did that. That was pretty successful. That's pretty fun, actually, but it's super time consuming.
Yeah. I feel like that was like a hot thing for a minute. I mean, it still is hot.
It's still pretty hot. You can make a pretty good profit if you spend the time and you know what you're doing.
I mean, if you think about it, like this is the funny thing about drop shipping to me is, number one, obviously there's a lot of money in it, but it's pretty much just taking like normal retail to the internet. Because I mean, like, think about it. That's what Walmart does, but they just have stores. You know, it's like you're taking these like weird products that like that don't have their own like marketing or advertising. You're buying them for cheap. You're putting them in your store that has clout, attention, advertising dollars, whatever.
Yep.
People come there and buy it. The person who makes the product still makes money. You make money. I mean, that's retail.
And dropshipping is amazing because you don't have
that actual physical store.
Exactly. They do all the fulfillment. They do everything. You just communicate with the customer.
But people awesome. I've heard people getting mad. They're like, well, all you're doing is just buying it in bulk and then making us pay more. And it's like, you do understand that's how fucking business works. Like, people are so dumb.
Yeah. Well, when we get into like the
bulk, that's what Walmart does.
Yeah. Well, when we get into the bulk of leverage, people can be like, oh, well, I can go get a 25% discount on this deal. I'm like, okay, like if you want to do it, we're literally just taking the work off your hands. We're like, you're paying us for the work that we're doing to get you these deals. Anyway, so yeah, that's drop shipping. It was actually pretty good for a while. And Sylvania actually, we like kind of partnered, not legally, on drop shipping, and we started doing it together at the same time that he was kind of starting leverage. So backing up a little bit, how I met him was in his Facebook group, right? So he still had this Facebook group kind of delivering the content that we learned at this event, because he's been doing it for years, and he was basically just like putting it in his own words and his own experiences, and he just attract amazing people. But he's also a business genius. So a lot of these people were like coaches, consultants, the people who try to spread good in the world and help people, you know, level up as a person. he started attracting all these people. So they were, coaches, consultants trying to deliver their message, but they also needed help on the business end. But the thing that we kept noticing as this idea started stirring in his mind was that a lot of the coaches and consultants, when they're starting out, really anybody in business, you're kind of scrapping for stuff. And if you have a family, especially for those people who want to like get out of their corporate job and start a business, it's hard to put food on the table. You're like struggling to and take your kids on experiences and take your family on something like cool vacations. And we found out a big reason why is because, it's tough to build a recurring income when you need a bunch of things to help you grow your business.
And not only that, but like all the side hustle time that you would use, like if I was working a 9 to 5 right now and I was trying to do a side hustle, it's like easy. The time from 5 till when I go to sleep, I'm working on my side hustle. But it's like when you have a family, you're expected to have family time and spend time with your kids. And like not only expected, but you want to do those things.
Right.
So and it's hard.
It's tough to like not only like grow your business, but it's tough to learn what you don't know in order to like reach the level that you need to be at to serve your clients. Yeah. Well, so not only on the introspection side, but like marketing.
Totally.
Like you need to learn how to email market so you can communicate with your clients. You need to learn how to run a Facebook group. You need to learn how to go live on Facebook. You need to learn all these things, and it's hard when you don't have the time.
Yeah.
And so that stirred the concept. Sylvania started thinking, okay, what am I doing every day? Like, what am I already doing? How can I turn this into a business? Okay, I'm a beast at corporate sales. He's a beast. He sells.
That's what he does for his normal job, right?
Yeah. So he's a sales leader at a company called Commvault, and he basically he sells millions of dollars worth of software every day. So it's like, okay, part of what I do is work with the company that we're trying to sell to get a lower price on their stuff so that we can like barter and trade services, right? Or whatever. Mm-hmm. Plus he just started watching what people were doing online. Like how is J.R. Reeves making X amount of money? How is he growing his Facebook group to 10,000 people? What is he doing? The intricacies, like giving people courses, like free courses and giving them trials to ClickFunnels and things like that. And he implemented that with like what he's doing in the corporate world, combined the two, used his audience of like 3,000 people, all who were trying to get into grow their business online, trying to build a presence because they were all speakers. You kind of need to have brand awareness if you're going to get speaking gigs. So he got his first deal, like the first thing that we used to know that this was going to be a viable idea was a Zoom deal. Zoom is it's a web conferencing platform. People can communicate. It's
kind of like Skype, but for business more.
Yeah. It's huge. I'm sure a lot of people listening know. So we got a Zoom
If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know. Not gonna say the word after.
Yeah, the clean version.
So yeah, it was basically what we did was we had an enterprise license, which normally costs like $1,000 a month. We were distributing it to the people in our community for $25. So it was a massive, massive deal, and it went.
So it normally would cost each individual person $1,000, and they were paying $25.
Yep.
Holy shit.
Yep. So that obviously just went super viral. Like everybody was talking about it. Like,
What are you getting for $1,000 a month that's so much better than just regular Zoom?
So regular Zoom, I mean, you can get Zoom for free. You can host meetings for free. But what a lot of people who would buy the enterprise package do, they host webinars. So normally, if you're paying $50 a month.
Webinars that can host like hundreds and thousands of people?
1,000 webinar attendees.
Wow.
Plus, you're limited on storage, kind of like Dropbox. But with the enterprise deal, you get unlimited cloud storage. Just shit tons of storage.
Nice.
We no longer have that deal, so if you're listening to this, I'm sorry, we don't have Zoom anymore. But that's how we started. And it went super viral, and we immediately knew okay, people love to save.
Totally.
People love saving money.
There's some people I would argue that love saving money more than they love actually making money.
Yeah.
Like I know some people, those like extreme couponers people?
Yeah.
Dude, I know this one girl. She loves a good deal.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about deals is sometimes they're not really a deal. It's a deal in disguise. It's like $25 off when you spend this much. It's like, I wasn't planning on spending this much.
Yeah.
But now that I know that I'm going to get $25 off. I like the phrase that we said in your new ad about it's Black Friday every day. Because I consider Black Friday prices the prices that it should be all the time. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, if they can afford to do it on one day, the day that people are doing the most shopping, they could afford to do those deals all the time.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's true at a huge corporate level. Like Walmart is not making a profit on Black Friday. They're doing it to get people in the store, and all they want to do is break even.
That's true.
Speaking from business terms, because that's a common thing. Like, oh, we're getting a deal on this. Shouldn't that just be the price of it anyway, right?
Or they're getting rid of all their old inventory by making it super marked down.
And that's like retail store specific.
Totally.
Talking about online software, it's really actually really tough to make a good profit margin on software. Just
because it's so competitive, or why?
Just because it's already so cheap. Like if you're paying $10 a month for I don't even like, what is $10 a month anymore? Let's just use Adobe because it's on top of my mind.
Let's say like one app on Adobe. Yeah, $20 a month or $10 a month.
Yeah, let's just say you're paying $10 a month for Adobe, right? They're probably not making profit off of you because they're probably paying
a lot of employees.
Adobe's a bad example because they make all their own software.
That's true.
Right? They don't license anything, do they?
No, it's all their own, I think. Yeah. So maybe
let's just talk about just think of a company who sells software that doesn't make it themselves. They're probably licensing it from somebody else. They're doing exactly what we're doing. They get a great deal. They charge more for it, but they have that like gap where they could offer a lower price if they get exposure to thousands of people that could potentially buy their product, which is what we use to leverage our negotiations.
Yeah.
We use group purchasing power. We have thousands of people that would potentially buy your software, and we're continuously growing because we haven't run any ads or anything till now. It's all been organic. So we can guarantee you at least 2x amount of traffic once we do start running a marketing campaign.
Just curious, you know the app Honey, where they like run all the deals in your browser? How do they make money? Do they take a little percentage?
They do, yeah. And advertisements.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess it makes sense with ads. Yeah, I was always curious about that because I'm like, it just runs deals and it's just running a promo code. Yeah. But I didn't know if they took a percent of the percent off.
Yeah. And same with like payment processing, they take like 1% or 2%. Like that adds up a ton especially if you have a shit ton of users. So what's cool, see, like, guys, if you are listening to, like, the concept of
They're not listening, bro. I'm just kidding.
the concept of our business basically is we are leveraging the amount of people we have in our community to go to companies and get lower prices on their products and services. So what that tells, what it should tell you is that companies care more about users than their profit margins at that time. Because they know if they break even by giving you 30% off of what they're already charging, but they gain 1,000 more users that they could potentially upsell things to or create new products.
Because the lifetime value of a customer.
The lifetime value is way more than the 30% off.
Than the cost of acquisition or whatever. Yeah, makes sense.
So just think of Slack. Slack is a completely free software. It's like a communication software. It's like Dropbox, email, and text messaging all in one software.
Yeah.
It's completely free.
It's kind of like Facebook Messenger for business.
Yeah, but they have like over $1 billion valuation because they have over 1 million users. So they can go to any company and be like, we have this many people on our platform. We'll sell this to you. And you get access to all the data that we have of these people.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the thing, man. It's always data.
Yep. Not like your date of birth and your address and shit, but like, you have access to these people now. You can talk to them. You can sell your shit to them.
Yes. Makes sense. Ads.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's a business world that we live in, and that probably sparks the big Facebook controversy and Google and how everything is stealing our data and how people are listening to us right now, which is all true. Like all that shit's happening. It's like out of grasp though. It's out of grasp, and instead, in my opinion, instead of fearing it, why not use it to your advantage?
Yeah. I want to take this conversation a few different paths. So I'm going to name them so we don't forget them. But number one, I went like this and then I put the middle finger up. Number one, fuck you, Cam. No, I was kidding. If you're listening, I put my middle finger up. So number one, I want to ask you about what strategies especially on like Facebook and things like that, are obsolete and which ones are actually still good.
Yeah.
Like, as you mentioned, a lot of different strategies. Number 2, I want to talk about Feed a Billion and all that stuff. We can get into that a little bit later. And then also I wanted to talk about your thoughts on like the future of like kind of what you were just talking about with like, you know, the future of Facebook tech, data, you know, all that kind of stuff, how it encompasses our lives. So let's start with the first thing. So the first thing would be Facebook strategies and stuff like that. What do you think still works right now in 2019, in what is it, June 2019? What things should people be like leaving in the past, and what things should people be actually investing in? Because obviously it seems like you guys are doing something right.
Yeah. Are we talking about Facebook specific or social media?
Just like in general, Facebook, social media, because you mentioned like, you know, growing a Facebook group. Is that still a valuable thing these days? Is going live still valuable these days? Is, you know, what are these things that you see people doing that are a waste of time? And what do you see people doing that are still very valuable if you do them the right way or whatever?
Yeah, I would say we'll touch on 2 things so we don't like go too far down.
Yeah.
2 things that I would recommend everybody do no matter what social media platform you're using. One is grow a community of people. A community of people who are listening to what you have to say, who you are providing some type of value to them, whether that is sales or whether that is information, whether that's, you know, some kind of hope. Like,
could even be entertainment.
Like build a community of people who are going to follow you and just basically believe in what you're doing.
Do you have any tips on growing that like tribe? Because like, for example, even for me, like when I first started the podcast, I started a Facebook group, and actually I think my biggest mistake was starting it a little bit too early when I didn't really have that audience. So it was really hard for me to like cultivate a group.
Yep.
And one of the things I actually also did was I had a group for all of the guests of my podcast, which was kind of cool for a little while, but I kind of let it fizzle out, to be honest.
Yep.
Just because it got kind of, I don't know, it wasn't weird or anything, but it was just like, I didn't see the true value in it for myself. So I was like, why should I invest more time into this?
Yep.
But for me, for example, let's say I want to start a Facebook group for people that listen to the Andrew Dice podcast. What are things I need to do to actually grow that group of people, cultivate that group of people?
Yeah, it really is a long-term thing.
Totally.
You have to, it's a consistent, it's basically like a whole nother focus of your business. Like Facebook group really is a huge part of our business. It's where we store all our information and stuff, and updates and things like that, and education. But it's a long-term thing. And so where I would start is like, start with the people that you know in your network. Invite them to your group, start creating content. It might speak to them, it might not. Just have content in there, but then start like building your network on social media. Facebook, for instance, we'll stay Facebook specific. Literally what I did, and literally like what Sylvania did, and a lot of people I know did, is they started finding out who the people were in like their ideal client avatar network that they were in, who those people were that had big communities already. So if we're talking marketing, I tried to find all the big marketers on Facebook, and I would literally just friend them, and every time they would accept me, I would message them. And it sounds tedious, but like you video message them, you just say, hey, what's up? Super glad to connect. I see we have mutual friends. I see that you do similar things. I would just love to, build this connection, say what's up. And then over time, because you're going to keep creating content, right? The second thing before I get too far into this is a equation we like to live by. Visibility plus credibility equals profitability. If you are super visible, right? You're loud, you're always creating content, you're that person that's, always going live, always posting videos, always posting photos, creating dope content like you do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
And you're credible, right? You're credible with the fact that you post dope videos. People know that you can edit. People know that you know lighting and proper camera angles. Mm-hmm. They also know that you know how to grow a podcast. They know that you know how to make GIFs. You're credible. You actually know what you're doing instead of just blowing smoke, right? It's created a profit for you. You've made money from the things that you know how to do. Mm-hmm. And you're super visible, so it's grown your podcast audience. It's grown your network of people who are paying you for your services, right? And what you did was you just started creating content. You started just like doing things for people. Right?
Totally.
That's how you built your network. And
And honestly, the network marketing thing, the first business, we kind of touched on it earlier, like that was how I met a ton of people kind of in this whole space.
Yeah.
And that's how I even felt confident to do my first few podcasts, because I was like, well, I've met these really awesome people through this network marketing company. I at least know 10 people I can go talk to right now.
Yeah, exactly. And you can think of a Facebook group as a network marketing concept.
Yeah, totally.
If you invite 10 people to your group and say, hey guys, I'd really appreciate if you invited just one friend, then that turns into 20 people. You keep doing the same thing over and over and over. It's eventually going to expand. And if you combine that with valuable information or a valuable offer, valuable product, service, whatever, it's just going to keep growing word of mouth. And then once you reach like a certain point, of course you have to like get into media and start doing podcasts and stuff like that and running ads.
Dude, podcast sounds hard, man. I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah, it's valuable, man. It works.
Dude, podcasts are so valuable.
So valuable.
Dude, I
think encourage every business owner to have one.
Dude, totally. And not only just like people are consuming more audio than ever before because people are realizing that they want to. People love binging stuff, like binging Netflix, but a lot of people are like, I don't have the time to binge Netflix. But when I'm sitting in the car, I've got time to binge stuff. When I'm sitting in, I'm at the gym, I have time to binge stuff. Whatever. There's times when your brain is like inactive, but your hands are active. I think Jim Rohn said it. He's like, when the hands are active but the brain is idle, it's the best time to learn, or something like that. Yep. Like, and people are loving that. Like, I think Spotify, they've been running ads to me a lot about their like millennial report or something like that. And I got it. I fell for the bait. Yeah. They got my email now.
They're good, man. I love Spotify.
Yeah, their ads are solid too, to be honest. Like, I don't mind getting them. But I read the report. It was really interesting because a lot of millennials, a lot of young people, they are listening to more content than ever before. Yep. I listen to at least 10 hours of podcasts a week. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's audio infiltrating my brain. Like, podcasting is almost like a form of brainwash. Yeah, audiobooks, podcasts, like it's honestly crazy. I mean, I listen to so much.
No.
Do you listen on 2x, by the way, or do you listen on what's your speed?
1.5.
I got you.
On podcasts, yeah.
Do you listen to anything entertainment podcasts, or is it all like educational podcasts?
No, I mean Joe Rogan. I listen to Joe Rogan. I listen
like edutainment though.
Yeah.
Like half and half.
Yeah. Honestly, no, I think it's mostly educational stuff.
Yeah.
I do love the serial killer podcasts though. Those are so entertaining. Just like people like the voice that they're going, and the tone and the music. It's so
that Dr. Phil one that I was talking to was pretty solid. That was my first forte into any of those types of things. I think I'm going to start listening to more.
Yeah, it's so cool. Funny story about that. My girlfriend and I went on a road trip last summer, and we went to Lake Tahoe, and outside of Lake Tahoe is like nothing. And so we spent like 2 hours listening to the serial killer podcast, like tons of episodes. And we get to this Airbnb, and it's in the middle of nowhere, bro. Oh. And the family's sitting on the porch. It's like a mom, a dad, and a little kid. We get out of our car, and the little kid runs up to us and is like, "Welcome to our house." And I was like, no, like, I can't do this. We ended up staying there, but I was so freaked out because we were like in the country. Bruh. Just imagine this little kid running up to you, and you're like,
"Welcome to our house."
Yeah, we're dying.
We're gonna kill you.
This kid's a demon. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that's creepy.
So I love those kind of podcasts.
That's cool.
Like it's like What You Don't Know podcast?
I don't know. Dude, there's so many it's crazy. The podcasts that people are like, "Oh, you gotta have heard of this." I'm like, dude, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like even Mind Pump, like they were on the last episode, and they get literally like 2 million downloads per month.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know who they were until they hit me up, which is weird. Yeah. They hit me up.
Yeah, that's your network, bro, and
I know, it's crazy.
The content and your credibility. I'm telling you, visibility plus credibility equals profitability.
I 100% agree. That's kind of like Eyes Ahead Media, the company that I'm doing everything under now, is like one of our big things that that I want to focus on is the idea that perception is reality, and if your perception online is amazing, people are going to take you seriously.
They're going to pay attention.
Yeah. And if your perception sucks ass online, it doesn't matter how good you are. Like, new people are not going to trust you. They're not going to think you're legit. Because if your content sucks, you're going to have, people that are going to come in that are probably less credible than you, but their content is beautiful and people want to trust them more.
Yeah. And you can leverage other people's networks. Like, Mind Pump's huge. They already have the credibility. It instantly builds yours.
Yep.
For me, like people I've had on my podcast instantly build build mine.
Even just having this set, bro. Like, even just the fact that there'll be a clip of you with my name in the background. People are like, what the heck? This is cool.
Who's Andrew Deitch or who's Cam Martinez?
Yeah.
And it's just like the two together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The two together. We're a power couple.
Yeah, of course. we were supposed to hold hands earlier. That never happened.
Dude, we never made that happen. Damn it. It's okay. We can hold hands right now. That was like a handshake. Here, give me my, yeah, there you go. This is amazing.
That's great.
For the video podcast watchers, you're amazing.
We held hands. So those are things that are working. Community,
that's
visibility
awesome.
plus credibility plus property.
Yeah, I like that. I think you're right about if you're going to start a podcast group, you got to take it really seriously or else it's kind of bullshit.
Yeah, groups.
Because there's a lot of annoying groups that I'm in, like where I'm like, this is not adding value at all.
Yeah.
And it's just a bunch of people pretending.
The best groups I feel on Facebook educate you the most. There's a couple out there that are just like super focused on helping you get results in your life, your business, and they just crush it.
I think I was mainly too focused on trying to make like a podcast group, and that was always weird to me because number one, it's like, for example, with the podcast like yours, it's like 6-figure roadmap. You've kind of got that like guideline. So if that's your 6-figure Facebook group, 6-figure roadmap Facebook group, kind of makes sense. But like the Andrew Deitch Facebook group, like that's weird because it's just me. You know what I mean?
Like you don't need a Facebook group.
Yeah, I don't think I need a Facebook group for the podcast.
It's not for everyone.
I think
once you create your course and the things that you're going to be teaching people, you need it
for sure. That's where I think it's going to come into play.
Because you can drip content there's some that'll be in your course, some that's like super like 101 level. But once you educate people to reach the point where they need your course in order to continue their growth.
And I already know my niche audience too.
Yep.
Boom.
Yep.
Making moves.
Yeah. That's when I would say you need a Facebook group. You could create a podcast Facebook group and just like, it's where you drop new episodes and it could be super entertaining. Like maybe some
because I do have some pretty like hardcore fans. Like I have fans that are like stoked every time I drop an episode and that's really cool. But I don't think there's enough of them to create like there's probably like off the top of my head like 20 people that I know are like stoked as fuck every time I drop an episode.
Yeah.
Everyone else is kind of like casual fan.
Yeah.
But then there's like 20 people that are like hardcore.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but I don't know if like I feel like I need that hardcore base to grow a little bit more before there's like enough to like every day have communication in a Facebook group.
Well, think of it as
groups are
Patreon.
where Facebook is going.
Think of it as Patreon. You could charge people to be a part of your Facebook group. And
that
then
is
that's
true.
where you put exclusive content. That's where you do just like
nudes. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's your modeling photos are there. Yeah, I mean, you could
cool.
go separate routes. Like that's how Patreon works.
No, it's totally how Patreon works. You're right. Yeah, I and that's actually why I wanted to bring on AJ too. We've been working with AJ all day, and he's my producer on the podcast, and like that's why I wanted to bring someone else on because I was spending too much time in the business and not on the business. Like I was focusing on editing the podcast, blah, 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 all that stuff. And now that I can kind of like zoom out a little bit and work on the whole entire thing rather than in it, it's so much better.
Yeah, man.
Okay, so strategies that work on Facebook right now, definitely groups, all that kind of stuff. You said live is still going good?
Oh yeah, live is super valuable.
On your own page or live in groups?
Both.
Okay, cool.
So there's this super cool software that we will be releasing a deal on. It's not there yet, so you can go buy it right now for full price if you want to. It's called Pod Pigeon. Sorry, not Pod Pigeon. Live Pigeon. That's the thing podcast. It's called Live Pigeon and it allows you to go live without actually being live. And the cool thing is you can upload a
video
edited
emulates
video, but it'll show up live and still play Facebook's algorithm as if you were live. So it's still live is still super valuable, especially if you do it consistently.
Did you run that the other day? I feel like I saw something like that. Like I'm live, but I'm not live. How'd I do it?
Yeah. It was like a promotion. Like it was sponsored by Live Pigeon. It was just like kind of like a preview to it. So
there we go. Sponsored.
Yeah, super cool.
This episode is sponsored by Live Pigeon.
Sponsored by Live Pigeon. Brandon Fisher is the creator. He's super cool guy. Super cool software. I'm not actually like promoting it yet because we don't have the deal, so I'm not making any money off of what I'm saying. It's just super cool, super convenient.
Not yet, at least, but hopefully it'll.
Maybe by the time this airs, I'll be making money on it. So just
I think it's coming out on Monday.
Disclaimer.
So it's probably not going to be made by.
Okay. No.
But maybe in the future, people are listening a few months from now. Maybe it's up. So join.
Disclaimer.
LVRG.IT might be there, might not.
You might be giving me your money in the future. So I just want to say thank you in advance.
But it's providing value to them. And,
no, it is. And
we're feeding people.
Yeah.
So going live still makes sense. Anything else on Facebook that you see people doing that's like, do you feel like having, okay, this is one thing that, so I saw a guy post the other day. He was like, LOL at people still inviting people to like their business page. Do you think that having a business page on Facebook is valuable anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. You need it to run ads. You need to have a Facebook page.
But does it need to be popular? Do you need to be posting stuff on there? Does it need to be popping? Do you need to have people rating it 5 stars? Like, is it even important?
I mean, in that aspect, in my opinion, no. Like, it depends. Like, do you have a podcast? Do you have other things that are helping you leverage your expertise? If you don't, then maybe the Facebook page route is the route you want to go. Because I still see people who crush it with content on their Facebook pages, and that's all they use, and that's how they build their network. But unless if you have other things that are working, like a podcast, or you have a Facebook group, or you're running, like, you need the page to run ads. If you're already doing that stuff, I would not recommend putting your focus on a Facebook page. But it could work if that's where you start and put all of your energy.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, I feel like I've got a grip on that.
Yep.
Facebook as a whole, how do you feel, or not even Facebook as a whole, just technology as a whole, how do you feel about the future of where we're going as a society with this kind of stuff? Do you think that, I mean, I kind of talked about this on the last podcast with Mind Pump about like kind of like digital wellness and stuff like that, like where you think that's going, or where they think that's going as far as like the health side of things, but where do you think things are going as far as like the future of all this stuff? Because I feel like you got a pretty good ear to the ground with a lot of this. You know, your company is you're working closely with these partners that are offering lots of software and tools and things that people need. Yeah. What's your take?
Like in what's being created, or how it's
I don't know, man. Like
people,
what's kind of like I don't know. Like, what's your opinions on just where things are going? Like, what do you think about? What keeps you up at night? What are you constantly paying attention to in that world?
I'm constantly paying attention to how technology affects my life. For instance, we were talking about this earlier because you told me to watch a video that you just created in
Instagram.
Yosemite. Yep.
Yeah.
Like, go to Instagram and watch my IGTV. And I went to Instagram with my browser because I don't have the app Instagram on my phone, because I found that literally, like, it's cool because you can see how much time you're actually spending on things now. It's kind of a wake-up call. It's like a slap in the face a little bit. I was spending like 4 or 5 hours a day mindlessly just scrolling, paying attention to other people's lives. This is cliche, but imagine what I could have done with that time that could have, benefited my life or the lives of others around me.
Yeah.
So I deleted it, and it's been great. I still get on Instagram every once in a while, just to see if anybody's messaged me, if I need to catch up on that stuff.
Yeah.
But in terms of productivity and like the need or the want to get on Instagram just to see what other people are doing, to see if I have any likes, the dopamine effect. Yeah. It's drastically decreased.
Yeah.
And so,
do you still have Facebook on your phone?
I do, because the Facebook
part of your business. Yeah.
It is a part of my business. But
how do you separate that out from like the personal, getting sucked into the news feed of all the BS? Probably your news feed is pretty curated with like business stuff, though.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I still have family, but
yeah, of course. But like, how do you separate that out? Like, when you hop on Facebook, like, how do you have to be intentional about like, I'm not going to get sucked into the news feed, I'm just going to hop into the group, or what are your strategies on that?
Yeah, so I use the blocker, the timer that phones have now. Like, if you reach a certain amount of time on your social media apps, it'll like lock you out. So I use those. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like, if I'm in the middle of a message and then my phone locks, I'll be like, oh shit, I have to unlock it. Unlock my app. So I try to use that.
Because immediately you can just unlock it immediately, right?
Yeah, it's not like it doesn't like shut down the phone. You have to it just locks it, but you can like press remind me later. So I try to use that just as like a notification, like, okay, I'm probably spending too much time on this. But I mainly go on intentionally to interact with like our community, to interact with somebody who messaged me maybe wanting to host me on a podcast or something. So I'll do that stuff, but in terms of mindlessly scrolling, I try to make it a habit not to. And even my girlfriend's in on it. She's like, you're mindlessly scrolling again. I'm like, oh shit, you're right. Like, put my phone down. But
I think it's an epidemic.
It is. So yeah, when you asked me this question, I immediately thought of, do you know who Simon Sinek is? Mm-hmm. So Simon Sinek was talking
What is Sinek?
What is Sinek?
It's not spelled the same.
He was talking to Tom Bilyeu on Tom Bilyeu's podcast. And he was talking about the effects that social media has on the lives of millennials, and he was talking about how a lot of corporate leaders are coming to, him or just talking in general about how millennials are lazy and they're not motivated and they're not committed and they're not patient. And he was talking about how we as millennials kind of grew up at a disadvantage because we had technology so early on in our lives, and how we got thrown into the world of dopamine, and how social media has created this aspect that we need to compare ourselves, or the only way we can track how we're doing in life is by viewing comparing or creating unreasonable expectations for ourselves.
Damn.
And he was just
because you haven't ever been able to form healthy
relationships,
and then also healthy views on yourself without comparing.
Yeah, because it's all based on likes. And he was talking about how on the corporate leader level, how they're going into, like, Simon Sinek would talk to a millennial in the workforce and be like, how are things going? And someone would be like, I think I'm gonna quit. And he's like, why? And they're like, well, I'm not really making an impact in the world, right? Impact in the world is such a huge buzzword. I want to make an impact. What does that really mean? Also, if you look at the people who are actually making real impacts on the world, meaning just people like Oprah who's created a school in Africa, and Alex Honnold. I love Alex Honnold. He's like doing some awesome things with creating like water for countries around the world, things like that. Like that's how I perceive impact, and of course I want to be able to do that in my lifetime, help other people at an extreme level like that.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have a great start.
Right, but if you perceive it as that's the only way I can actually make an impact on the world, instead of, man, I flew out to Atlanta this weekend, got to spend time with you. I'm sure I've impacted your guys' lives in some kind of positive way. We've had laughs. We've made jokes together, right? That's a positive impact. You can either perceive it as, that's such a little part, like I don't give a shit about that. That doesn't mean anything to me. Or those little tiny moments are also as impactful on you guys in this current moment as it is if I were impacting millions of people on a super high level.
Totally.
Right? It's the same thing, just different perception. And that's what he was talking about. And it's a common thing that, with a younger generation, social media is creating the fact that we're not being patient. It takes years to create actual, like, manageable wealth and consistent wealth, or consistent whatever it is that you want in your life. Just think of the Oprahs of the world. She spent years of her life creating this stuff, and everybody we just talked about has spent years of their lives just like mastering whatever they're doing. And so that's where I foresee technology continuing to go, is creating, continuing to increase the suicide rate and the accidental drug overdose rate and depression rate, because we really, like, the dopamine that we're getting from social media is the exact same that we would be getting from alcohol and drugs.
Do you think we can put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak? Like, do you think we can reverse some of that? Like, if it is so detrimental, do you think that people enjoy it too much? Like, it's kind of like prohibition. It's like alcohol is already out there. We've already tasted it. Yeah. There's no going back, Same thing kind of with weed. It's like weed's starting to come legal. I don't think it's going to be hard to put that back in the bottle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and also, but with social media, how do you think that's going to, where do you see that going? Like, do you feel like there's going to be some sort of like prohibition legally on stuff? Or like, do you think it's just going to be, as a society, we just realize that it's unsafe? Or do you think we're just going to, it's a slippery slope and we're already too far sliding?
I don't know. I think it's a little bit of both. There's already talks of regulating it. I think that
I don't like the idea of governmental. Sorry, I totally cut you off. What were you saying?
No, I just don't think that. I think it will happen for a short period of time. I think it will, like, somebody's going to pass a law that says something, but I think it'll go away.
Maybe like banning kids from using it too early or something.
Yeah, maybe like an age restriction or something. I don't know. I think it's a little too late to put the genie put the wish back in the lamp. But
I think at the same time, like, for you, Facebook has created massive opportunities for you. You've been able to leverage that platform to create massive success.
Yeah, and it's like, if people like you and I who have the platforms like this, and the Simon Sineks of the world, Tom Billies of the world, all the people who have large followings, the Joe Rogans of the world, if we keep putting information out into the world that shows people that there is a different way. If people just, maybe people start putting limiters on how much time they're spending on social media. Maybe people do put their phone, leave their phone in their office when they're going to meetings. Maybe people do leave their phones at home when they're going out to dinner with friends. Maybe if we keep putting this information out in the world, maybe we'll impact somebody to start doing the same and enhance their lives in different ways.
Yeah.
I foresee that's how
I think self-discipline. Yeah, self-discipline is definitely kind of the answer.
Yeah.
And maybe there'll be some sort of tool. I know like Palm was coming out with a phone, like Palm Pilot. They came out with a phone that was basically like your phone's companion, where it's basically like a mini dumbed down version of your phone that you would take with you, kind of like the Apple Watch. You know the Apple Watch with LTE, you have that one, right?
Yep.
So like it has cellular connection. So you could leave your phone at home comfortably and know that if you needed it in an emergency, you could text somebody, make a call, whatever, go on a run, but you can leave your phone at home. And that's what they were kind of trying to design with this little phone, but a lot of people just realized that like they were out with their little phone and they realized like, oh, this phone kind of sucks, wish I had my real phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, I think maybe creating things like that can ease our digital stress. Like, I have stress. If I never leave my phone accidentally because it's always in my pocket. It's always like on me,
And that's the thing. Like it's
a part of us, dog.
It really is. And it's,
like that.
It's true. Like it's a part of us, and those things already do exist, right? So it's just a matter of helping people realize that by doing that, it will help them create meaningful relationships. It'll help them connect with people on a deeper level, help them understand themselves at a deeper level, because they're not guarded by this thing that creates instant comparison. So yeah, I mean, I like testing things. So like I was listening to this book called dang, I forgot the name.
That's a good name.
Yeah, so I totally blanked.
That's okay.
But it's by these two guys who used to work at Google, and they just created this book on creating habits. And they who work in tech were advocating to stop using so much tech. And I just started implementing a bunch of things. Like I deleted all my email off my phone. I can't check email unless I'm on my computer. I deleted my social media platforms. I put the lock on my social, my
it's kind of like
profiles.
4-hour work week type of thing too. Like, only check email once a week or once, obviously it's not, that's kind of a pipe dream for some people, for most people.
That's the thing, like test things that work for you. Some things can, some things can't, but don't not do it just because you are you're craving the attention on social media. You're craving to see what people are doing.
Yeah. How do you handle your to-do list? Because I'm sure you have a pretty long to-do list. I tend to get very overwhelmed when I have a lot of things to do on my plate. How do you handle that?
So I create, this is also in the book I was talking about, I create what's called a highlight. So I focus on one big thing that I want to accomplish, whether that's today or over the next week. And I focus on that. And the tasks that are underneath that can wait, because this thing is like
the most important thing.
Yeah. So until I get that done, then I don't focus on the other things. That's how I try to manage things. Obviously, there's things like the podcast episodes that I try to make sure I'm doing that may not be my highlight could be close the deal with X company this week. But I also have to focus on, have a podcast on Tuesday, Thursday. And I have to make sure that my team knows what they're doing every week. And these are just tasks that are kind of just like day-to-day things. But all those things that I think I need to be doing, I could probably just give to my team, or probably aren't important enough for me to stop focusing on the thing that really matters.
How you also have a virtual team, completely virtual, right? Pretty much everyone that works with Leverage is virtual, right?
Everyone's virtual, yeah.
So they're not real people. Sylvania's not even a real guy.
They're robots. Yeah. So the future of tech is building a team of robots.
Dude, that's amazing. I didn't know robots could drive I-8s. But
They can't. You saw me almost drive into the curb, remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that would have been bad. I forgot about that. But no, seriously. So when you're managing like this virtual team, what are some of the biggest challenges and what are some of the, obviously, I think the biggest challenge probably of managing a virtual team are probably some of the same challenges of managing a team in general. But what are some of the, for people out there that are, even for me, I'm probably going to be expanding soon. What tips do you have in those growing pains for working with team members, whether they're virtual or not?
Yep. So I'll start off by saying that my team is very unique in that they're all our customers. They were all a part of our community before they joined our team. So what we did was we reached the point where we knew we needed to outsource certain aspects of our business: tech, customer support, community management, things like that. And we were like, okay, we went over our metrics. We have the money to hire the people that we need, but we might not, get that money back for this amount of time. So we started thinking, okay, we could go the internship route, where we hire people out of college or whatever, people that just want to learn from us. And then we came up with the idea to ask our community, hey, we know you're all entrepreneurs. Some of you are, further along in your business. Some of you aren't. You're in the place where you would want to learn from people who've done what you want to do. Here are the opportunities we have for you. Here are the roles we need to fill. And in return, we'll give you access. We have something to leverage. We'll give you access to the deals we have in our membership. We'll give you team gear. We'll also give you our mentorship and help you grow your business outside of the hours that you're helping us grow ours. And so that's super cool. We have an entire team built of, they're pretty much interns, but they're also, we call them intrapreneurs, right? They're growing their own businesses as entrepreneurs, but also, they're a part of our team helping us grow ours. So we treat them as a team. I do a lot of the project management, so I'm like actually the one-on-one communicating with them most of the time. And up front, I don't know if you want to get into like hiring and stuff, but the way that I like to manage the team is I over-communicate our values, I over-communicate our vision, I over-communicate where, like, the strategies that we are focusing on to get to where we want to be in the next 24 months. So what we did was we built out what we call the best version business framework. So it starts from the inside out, where it starts with culture and values, and then it starts with our mission, and then it goes to culture and values, and then it goes to the strategies we need to accomplish where we want to be in the future. And so we, in every team meeting, we ensure that, okay, if we need to make a decision, does this align with where we want to go? Does this align with who we want to serve? Does this align with where we want to be in the next 24 months? And so if you are managing a team, one of the most important things you could do is basically just make them believe in what you're doing. Because you are so passionate about what you're doing that it's going to work. And so that's something that we push over and over, is ensure that, one, that they fit the culture, right? That they can have fun and they can joke and they don't take everything so seriously. And when issues arise, they're not reacting in a way that could hurt them or the company. And so yeah, that's one of the biggest things. It's pretty blanket, but just ensuring that you actually know why you're doing what you're doing, basically. And then in terms of the day-to-day things, we use Slack to communicate for our virtual team. Slack is very important to us because it's how we interact with our team, how we talk to them, and you can create different channels. So we have specific people in the marketing channel, specific people in the customer support channel, specific people in the podcast launch channel.
Do you have a meme channel?
We have a humor channel. We have a
Nice.
humor channel. Yeah,
That's important.
Yep.
Because a lot of times the group chat, if it's just a generic group chat, it just always resorts to poop jokes and stupid stuff.
Yeah.
So it's you need a humor channel.
Yeah.
So okay, this is funny. I want to share it with my team, because that's a huge part of working in a group, is being able to joke around and have fun.
Oh yeah.
You gotta love your job.
I'm dropping our gifts as soon as we get them.
Hell yeah.
They're going in our Slack channel.
Yeah, Gibby's a partner with Slack too, so it's perfect.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so Slack's huge. We use Trello for project management. That's
Nice.
just a basic project management tool.
Yeah. It's free as well.
But another thing, this is actually something, so I spent a lot of time with Active Campaign I actually got back from Chicago on Monday. I was at the Active Campaign HQ all weekend last weekend. And I got to spend time with the CEO and the VP of sales. And they looked at our business model, and one thing that they said that we need to focus on and implement moving forward is tracking everything. From how many communications our person in customer support is having, how many tickets are they having to answer, how many messages do they have to send back and forth with the issues that they're trying to solve. to your revenue, tracking your monthly recurring revenue, tracking your churn rate, tracking your annual recurring revenue, and then like emails. How many emails are you sending? What's the open rate, click-through rate, stuff like that. So we're tracking everything now on all of our team meetings, on all my one-on-one calls. I have them present to me what the data is for whatever they're working on during our one-on-ones, and then during our team calls, I present to them the data that I've come up with, and then we decide and compare, what was working last week. That's not working this week. Okay, let's change that. Okay, what's working? Let's double down on that. So data has been a huge part of managing our team. It's very important.
Yeah.
It's factual things that you can base the growth of your company on, or else you're just guessing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've heard like if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. You know,
Yep.
It's totally true. Cool, man. I want to pivot a little bit into the Feed a Billion stuff because that's obviously like a big part of why you guys are doing this. Because you touched earlier on, millennials, young people, whatever. We want to have this impact on the world. And of course, one of the cool things about being a member of Leverage and using the programs and all that, and using, buying the membership is part of the proceeds go to Feed a Billion, which is this amazing nonprofit based here in Atlanta, providing, meals to people who are hungry around the world.
Yep.
So how, just kind of explain that partnership, how it happened, and why it's like so important to you guys.
Yeah, so back when Sylvania started the company, he knew that he wanted to create a social aspect of the company. Social entrepreneurship is a huge passion of his, and he has experience, being hungry. Like when he was a child, he knows what it's like to like live that life. And he started looking around at different nonprofits. There's a ton out there that do what Feed a Billion does, but one thing that really caught his eye and is really like the reason why there are only nonprofit we support is because Dr. AJ, who you got to meet last time we were here in Atlanta when we were filming, and his assistant Katarina, they are actually hands-on in the nonprofit. So he's literally not only handling the logistics of getting the food over there, but he's physically going over there and giving them the food. And we really loved the fact that he is like actually the one doing it, so that he knows one, that the food's actually being delivered, because what he found was when food was going over to places like India and Africa, women and men are treated very differently over there still. Children more so. And he found that when he was sending meals over there, he was sending it to the houses of like the children, but the parents say that he sent 3 meals. The parents would give 2 to the boy and 1 to the girl. Wow. And so he had to change up the process, which is cool because he's actually there and he knew what was happening. He had to change up the process, and now he delivers all the food to the schools to ensure that it's equally distributed to everyone.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So.
And a lot of their meals are like they're kind of like protein shake based kind of things, right? Like they're fully nutrient dense like shakes, and so they can just easily make them with water, shake them in a shaker bottle, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like if you're ever going camping, you have like the freeze dried food. It's kind of the same concept, but it doesn't taste like shit. It's like actually pretty good.
Have you tried them before?
Yeah, I have.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice. That's awesome, man. And obviously, like, what? Just out of curiosity, what? I know you guys have fed 200,000 people so far?
Yeah, a little over like 211,000 or something like that.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And how much? Just I don't know if you have the figure, but like how much percentage goes back into Feed a Billion? Like what percentage of your membership or whatever?
Just to put it easy, in easy terms, every membership purchased feeds 30 people.
Wow.
Or provides 30 meals. And
it's a membership yearly, so that's 30 meals per year, pretty much?
Yeah, per membership purchase. Yep,
nice.
Yep. So that's why the 200,000 people is amazing.
Yeah.
But it could be bigger if it was like a monthly recurring thing.
We're trying to feed 1 billion, son.
Yeah. So the model might change a little bit, just so that like literally we're gonna do it just to make a bigger impact, like to feed more people. But yeah, so yeah, that's.
And I think the cool thing about AJ is that he is like very successful outside of the nonprofit world.
Yeah, and like, that's another thing. He funded the entire thing himself. Like, everything's funded by him.
He's an amazing person. Like he's legit. He's the real deal. And I remember when we went to that event, the Feed a Billion event, And I think so. Right after the event, I remember Sylvania being like, "Yeah, I think we should change all of our philanthropy efforts, all of our social, good towards Feed a Billion solely because I believe so much in the company."
Yeah. So he funded the entire thing himself. Obviously, he's getting more sponsorships, from us and other people like us.
It's amazing.
But yeah, he's super passionate about it. That's something that we love. And another thing is we have direct access to the founder and because that's a huge thing of our business model as a whole. Is partnerships with the people who are making the decisions.
Makes a lot of sense.
So
makes sense to me.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
that's awesome, dude. I feel like this is a good place to wrap things up, bro. We've kind of talked about everything. Is there anything else that you can think of that, any kind of closing message to the world that you would give to all of the lovely listeners of the ADP?
I would just say, are a lot of is the demographic pretty young, like our age, or?
Yeah, it's mostly 24 to 35, or in their late 20s kind of age.
How old are you, person listening?
Yeah,
comment on this video.
Comment down below. But there's also high school people that message me and be like, "Dude, I listen to your podcast."
Nice.
Yeah, so it's pretty broad.
Yeah, I would say just on the topic of where technology is headed, just be patient. Try to implement things that don't allow social media to dictate your life, that prohibit the comparison that social media and technology as a whole create in your life. Just be patient, because if you eliminate the things that are causing the comparison and the insecurities and depression, or whatever you're going through in life, you'll get through it. Just be patient.
Boom.
Yeah.
Where can people find you, man?
Facebook, Instagram. I don't have the app, so if you DM me, I might check it in a few days.
But the best place is probably Facebook to reach you?
Yeah, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can go to
Just don't DM me about customer service, damn it.
Yeah, don't. if you purchase our membership and you get one of our deals, don't DM me that some bad thing's happening. That's why we have customer support. So
there we go. So on Facebook, you're Cam Martinez.
Cam Martinez, yeah. LinkedIn, Cam Martinez.
And leverage. It's LVRG.IT where you can sign up for leverage.
Yeah, leverage it.
Leverage it. There we go. Love it, bro.
Leverage it. Oh, also our podcast.
Yes.
If you're looking to grow your business to 6 figures and beyond, 6-figure roadmap.
6-figure roadmap, dude. Yeah, if you enjoyed this podcast, you'll definitely enjoy listening to that one. But that's pretty much it, dude. Cam,
appreciate it, man.
Thanks for being on the show, me on here, man. Of course. And we'll see you later, everybody. Boom. There you have it, guys. Thanks again to Cam for joining me. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you check out Cameron's podcast, The 6-Figure Roadmap. It is crushing right now in the rankings. I'm sure you guys can find it anywhere you're listening to this right now. And also, I think you'd probably enjoy going back to listen to episode 97 with Dr. Carrie Rose and LaShawn Kerb. They're an amazing power couple that are friends with Cameron and I as well. And during that episode, they chatted all about how they got started in online course creation, misconceptions about online courses, what common mistakes course creators make, why Dr. Carrie is not encouraging her kids to go to college, and so much more. It was a badass conversation. Go check it out, episode 97 with Dr. Carrie Rose and LaShawn Kerb. If you want to support this podcast, I think the best way is to take a screenshot on the app you're listening to right now, put it on your Instagram story, put it on Facebook, share it out to your friends and family. That's the number one way that this podcast grows, through word of mouth. Also, if you feel like being awesome, go to Apple Podcasts, give it a 5-star rating. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can go to my website, AndrewDeitch.com. You can find all my social media links there. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening, especially all you loyal peeps who listen every single week. I really appreciate you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. Yeah. I want to take this conversation a few different paths. So I'm going to name them so we don't forget them. But number one, I went like this and then I put the middle finger up. Number one, fuck you, Cam. No, I was kidding. If you're listening, I put my middle finger up.